Folks, welcome into the Crowd Assist podcast presented by Trainwreck Sports. Wake here with your friend Jake and everyone's favorite friendly neighborhood Merekat. Got the band back together for this one. It's a great day to be alive. Great day to be a Bills fan. Micah, before we get on here, you were saying that this season, this preseason, this training camp all feels a little different than in years past. And it all comes down to us not being worried about what?
Josh Allen.
Yep.
More than anything else.
Literally. We know he's not going to play on Saturday, and it's just great. It's fun being on the side where the grass is actually greener, where
That's fucking wild.
we have that quarterback that's not playing in the preseason because we're not evaluating quarterback talent. But one thing we are going to evaluate real quick, real early, is your and our listeners' preseason Bills knowledge. Now, I did put one question out on Twitter earlier, so we're going to start there. You guys got your little handy-dandy notebooks? Hope
Ready to roll.
You guys are competing for my love and affection and absolutely nothing else. So here we go.
Sounds
Question
good.
one.
Oh, wait.
Who are the two quarterbacks that started ahead of Josh Allen in his first preseason game? Two quarterbacks that started ahead of Josh Allen in his first preseason game, a time when we were worried possibly about who the Bills' signal caller would be week one. All right. I see Merekat is done writing, and now Micah is good. Fellas, hold up your answers. Let's see who we got here. One of you is right.
Oh, McCarron's good. I think it's Jake. Yeah.
AJ McCarron and
No.
Nathan Peterman.
I knew it was the
Micah?
Peterman. That's the only one I was sure of.
I was sure Peterman. I could not think of the other one. McCarron's a good pull there.
I remember I saw McCarron play in person one time. I went to the Bengals-Steelers playoff game where they were throwing beer bottles at Big Ben. That was the Vontaze Burfict hit Antonio Brown game. That was
God.
What a
bad.
game! Wow.
Yeah, what a game
The
to
domino, little
Yeah.
domino to big domino meme. Vontaze Burfict hitting Antonio Brown across the middle there, leading to Antonio Brown writing statements to himself on Twitter saying
That
his biggest regret in life is not
is that he
watching
couldn't watch
himself play
himself.
football.
Yeah, his biggest regret is being himself.
Yeah.
incredible. I've said Twitter's peaked a lot of times in my life, but there's not much better content than that right there. Like
It was
you
a
can't
wild
do
day
it
on the
better.
bird.
Oh, well, we're not going to stray too far from the theme of that one. We're going to stick with some
boy.
quarterbacks right now, and this one's going to be a bit of a deeper pull. Going to have to use your thinking caps just a little bit. So at one point in the drought era, the Bills had a pair of rookie quarterbacks make their debuts in the same game. One was a draft pick, one went undrafted.
Oh.
Who are these two quarterbacks?
I'm going to be wrong again, but it's like
This is a
it's
guess,
right
but-
there. Yeah.
Or is it?
I'm trying to think. See, drought's a long period. I'm thinking very recent.
I
don't
think
like
this
this.
is it, but I don't actually. This is not right. This is not right. But
Shit. No, mine's not right at all.
I don't even know if these two are rookies at the same time.
Wait.
It just feels like it's the same time.
Wait, is this guy even a quarterback?
Yep, two quarterbacks.
All right,
They're
here we go.
Real
I'm
life
ready.
quarterbacks.
I'm ready.
Call them that.
This is bad. This is bad.
I hope I get this.
Let's see it.
Jeff Toole and Brian Brom.
Oh man.
Is it Manuel?
It's-
Might be.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
Manuel.
damn it. I knew it was Toole time. I was trying to reach deep in my bag. I'm like, Brian Brom, I think was like a 7th round pick. I don't know, man.
I forgot about Brian Brown, but I thought Brian Brown was
It's a
going to be
good
the
one.
answer. I thought he was like legit next future of the team for a minute.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Jesus.
Fucking
Oh,
DJ
yeah.
Manuel. Oh my god.
That was a good one. This is good. I'm feeling flustered.
All I wanted out of this was to fluster one of you, and it's working so far. Micah, it looks like you are the early favorite for my love and affection.
Okay.
But
It's the name thing, I think.
it might be, I guess.
He is a friend.
He is my friend Jake. He quite literally is. Question 3. We're gonna get away from the quarterbacks now, though. So the Bills have been on a tear in the preseason lately. What's the last year that the Bills lost a preseason game in? All right, gentlemen, let's see those answers.
I picked a long time, but
Meerkat's on the board. It is.
Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay.
3-0 last year.
I just assumed all bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, 3-0 last year. The year before that was the COVID year, no preseason. They went 4-0 back in 2019. So 2018 was the year to beat. Now this one I'm really excited about because this is just. I have a feeling. I know Meerkat's going to get this one. I really have a good feeling about that. I made this question and I thought Meerkat's going to know this instantaneously. So, what Division II running back could not crack the Bills' 53-man roster with Marshawn Lynch, CJ Spiller, and Fred Jackson ahead of him?
If this is wrong, I'm going to be so upset. It's two guys, but I'm so confident in this one. Oh no, it's
and I'm so pissed because if you get it right and Micah gets it wrong, we have a tie, and I don't have a tiebreaker.
I don't even have a guess at the moment, so we're not in a good spot. Man, I really have no idea.
Oh no, wait. Oh, it's two guys. Oh, I hate this because this backfield was stacked. There are two guys who I loved that got cut too. I'm gonna switch. Okay.
I loved all three of the guys on the screen right now, so I didn't care about any other running backs coming in. I was like, fuck that guy. Let's keep these three. Okay. I don't even have a guess, so let's see what Mir has.
I was obsessed with this backfield in the preseason. If I'm wrong here, I'm going to be very upset. All right.
Well, let's see it. Micah, hold up your empty sheet of paper and
0.
I changed for Xavier Oman to Joy Bell.
Is it Joy Bell? Damn, that's a good one.
Let's go!
Damn.
Let's go! Let's go!
Joy Bell. The belt. It was a fucking little bowling ball.
The good news is I have more than enough love and affection to go around, fellas. So no worries. Man,
we tied.
It was good.
Good game. Good work, Meerkat.
Wow.
Storming back at the end.
So Xavier Oman also on that roster, also tore up that preseason, also like a low-level guy. I'm like, I don't think he was D2. I knew Joyke was D2.
Yeah.
It was a Joyke Bell. There's a Joyke Bell game in that preseason, isn't there, where he went like crazy?
Yeah, no, he had like 2 touchdowns and $150 in one game. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Oh Lord.
Unbelievable.
And he had a decent career with the Lions.
Yeah, he was there for like 5 years or so, and he was
solid.
in the same backfields like Adrian Peterson for a little bit. Like, he had a
Abdullah, who was
Amir
supposed
Abdullah.
to be the GOAT.
Yeah, of course, right? I feel like the Lions ruined a lot of running backs' careers, but oh yeah, the pride of Wayne State College, wherever the hell that is.
Shout out Wayne State. I think it's Indiana. That might be the thing I know about Joyke Bell.
Wayne State.
Michigan. No.
Damn.
0 for a million on this one, Micah. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I know nothing about Joyke Bell.
But you know a lot about the Bills right now, and that's what matters. Good for you, Meerkat. I'm happy for you.
I needed that, guys. I needed that tie more than anything.
The only time I ever did like one of those Buffalo Wild Wings fantasy drafts in person, I remember sticking the Joyke Bell sticker up on the draft board. That's my Joyke Bell memory right there.
There we go.
File that one away. But we're not going to talk about Joyke Bell all show as much as Meerkat and I would clearly love to. We do have not a lot to get to. Like before the show started, we were saying that there's not a lot of news going on right now because we're not looking out for what quarterback's going to start. Right now, we're looking at the wide receiver battle, which is stacked, and the prospects of bringing in Odell Beckham. And now, Meerkat, what's that face about?
I'm sorry. I just Googled Xavier Oman. I just wanted to do a little research, see what he went up to with after the Bills.
Yeah.
He was D2.
He was?
He was a D2 player. Absolutely incredible. Northwest Missouri State. Both answers were applicable there.
That is incredible.
Oh, you know what?
Wow.
Okay, so I hate to say it,
sick.
but I think Meerkat gets extra credit on that one.
I think he should.
Yeah, so Meerkat wins 2.5 to 2. I was gonna look up. I was gonna make a new question, and I wish I had a prize buzzer right now. But
that's just so funny because I was weirdly obsessed with that backfield as a kid. Like I went to all the Bills home preseason games that year. I was like invested in these guys.
This shows you how much competition they wanted for Fred Jackson, Marshawn Lynch, and CJ Spiller too. They're like, we're just gonna bring in D2 guys, and just you guys are just gonna run through camp, take all these preseason snaps, and then they were both good, both guys. Crazy.
Yeah. And that backfield just as stacked as the Bills receiving core is right now. Great segue. And the only argument I've really seen that can have any sort of merit for not bringing in Odell Beckham Jr. is that possibly it could hinder Gabriel Davis evolving into a wide receiver too. Now, for a team with Super Bowl aspirations, do either of you think that is a good argument?
Nah, Odell wouldn't come in until like what, Christmas? Like it's basically a playoff thing, and at that point, he doesn't have anything behind him. He's just gonna be like a situational guy, red zone threat. It's just a good option to have, and then who knows what your receiver room's gonna be looking at that point. The Bills, unfortunately, have had a decent amount of receiver injuries the past few years. It's just a position that gets hurt. A couple of guys are down. Who knows if. This will be brought up later when we talk questions, but Gabriel Davis, is he going to be that number 2 guy? Like, can he truly be in this high volume of an offense? Mm-hmm. There's going to be something there. Odell is nothing but a positive in my mind.
I'm with it. I don't understand why Odell is a guy that can play anywhere on the field in my mind. So I don't think we only need to talk about boundary receivers. I mean, its reputation is why he gets mentioned, is where it's immediately like you see if he did sign with the Bills, the Instagram post and Twitter post would have Diggs OBJ on every single one, right? And so it's kind of just like the hierarchy and everybody's fans. But in my mind, he is just the super sub for wherever you would need him, because the dude can play anywhere on the field. And in this kind of situation, why would you not want the most depth at all these positions? Like you said, maybe Gabe doesn't pop off to the standards that everybody thinks he's going to. Maybe Isaiah McKenzie and Jamison Crowder aren't as prolific in the slot, and they want to put somebody else in there or do something else with that position, or just there's injuries that eventually are going to come up at some position on this team throughout the year. I mean, why would you? It is a lot of like pride thing, and I think Odell has leaves a bad taste in people's mouths after the Browns thing and everything else. But I feel like what we know about the Cleveland Browns organization, that they can't all have been Odell Beckham's fault at this point, just in general with how everything's been going down there for a while. So I'm always in for adding talent. And when have we ever even been able to have this freaking conversation as a team? Yeah. Like, and who and what? Why do Bills fans and in general think it would not be? It just kind of baffles me. And it's like it's a weird situation because he's not going to be back, and you feel like you have this chemistry and everything else, but nothing's guaranteed in any of this. Like, there's nothing guaranteed out of it, and you want to go in as deep and as talented as you can. Then you bring in a guy like that, and you think it can make it work. And if Von Miller, who seems to be like the biggest chemistry guy ever in the history of football, right, like we've seen through camp,
first team all chemistry,
feels like it's a good idea and feels like it would be great. And he's talking about, hey, there's a locker next to him open, all this shit. Like, I don't know, like I feel like I would trust that more than whatever fans think of Odell, just because of past stops that he's had so far.
Yeah, and we brought up injuries a few times. Like, Jamison Crowder is someone who, for most of training camp, has been largely unhealthy. But now it seems like in the past week or so, while he's been healthy, he's actually been able to get out there with Josh Allen. Mm-hmm. That Josh has really started to like throwing to the guy. And I guess Sal Capaccio wrote that he had a play in training camp similar to the touchdown he scored against us at the beginning of last season, where it was like a low depth of target catch, and then he just took off 70 yards. Like, and even if pads were on, Sal said that it was going to be a touchdown. Like, he just made it down the sideline before anyone could even get to him. And that's what he's good at. He's good at that yards after catch. And, that's one thing that the Bills really lacked last year. And getting younger and more efficient at wide receiver, albeit not much younger when you go from Beasley to Crowder. But Crowder and McKenzie in the slot there. I know, Micah, when Mookie, you and I were talking, and also when I had Robin on, 2 tight end sets were a topic of conversation, right? But even better than that, give me 2 slot receiver sets. Throw McKenzie on one side of it and then Crowder on the other. Like, I feel like that's like the anti-fairy, like Fairly Odd Parents, like the anti-fairy of the 2 tight end sets. And I fucking love it.
Well, who else? And James Cook's going to get run in those sets, those kind of sets too. Exactly what you're talking about. I feel like.
Yeah.
Also, when we're talking about that in general, we bring up the tight ends. It's a great point to bring up OJ Howard, who everything I've heard, I mean, just got done listening to Perino and Talbot. Shout out them for their coverage and everything. But basically, both talking very poorly. Like OJ Howard just hasn't popped any practice, hasn't looked like he's been worth the money. Like that was a statement that came out of their mouths and everything. Like. And that's not a surprise, honestly, to me. Like, he was kind of fading a lot last year, and it was more of a name signing and kind of hoping that he would get a bounce back. So if Tommy Sweeney is just going to have that spot again, we know how they like to run the offense with Tommy Sweeney as tight end too, and that's going to mean more snaps for Crowder and McKenzie and Cook and just more outside guys in general.
It's going to be interesting, too, to see how tight end plays out, how many they keep, because there's a ton of talent there right now. Obviously, Knox, Howard are going to be locks. Tommy Sweeney, I'm going to say, is a lock. They love him. He's got short hands. He's been around for a while, having a great camp. So you have 3 locks there. Will they keep 4? I mean, I haven't heard much about Werdemeyer out of camp yet, but I know he was a very exciting undrafted free agent pickup, one of the top guys a few teams were vying for. He chose us. And I know there's some Quinn and Morris truthers out there too, but I'm kind of down to like shave at other positions. Like, just keep 3 tight ends. Like, I'd be fine keeping 2 too if Tommy Sweeney wasn't such a viable 3 and I wasn't a crazy man. But I think keeping 3 tight ends and relates back to the receiver room. Like, I want to keep 7 receivers very badly. When I look at the Bills receiving room, though, I was trying to think of an analogy for it. I think I just came up with it. It looks like an anaconda that just ate a large animal. It's like the head of the snake, normal, big bulb, and then little tail. It's, inflated. The head of the snake, Stephon Diggs. Everything's great. It starts to inflate a little bit. You got a strong net there. That's Gabriel Davis. Yeah. And then you got everybody else in the middle there. There are a lot. There are going to be NFL caliber receivers. There are going to be guys that get picked up that are cut from this team. It's the unfortunate reality. That's what comes, with being a great team, having this type of depth.
Good problem.
We have so many. Yeah, it's a great problem to have, but I just want to see people start to stand out more and more. Jamison Crowder, I know he's dealing with the injury, but not delivering what I expected. I thought he'd come out and be like, okay, finally has a great quarterback, a good offensive system for him to thrive in, and he's going to be a 1,000-yard receiver in the slot for the Bills this year. But it's Isaiah McKenzie is coming through, who I love Isaiah, but it's still question marks there. Can he truly be a guy who's on the field for, 75% of your offensive snaps? Just a lot going on. I mean, Gabriel Davis, my questions with him. I just want to see people stand out. Khalil Shakir made a few flashy plays. Marquez Stevenson's doing nothing. Isaiah Hodgins, we'll get into him, but he's making his roster, baby. There's a spot locked up right there. Kumaro, they want to keep him. The special teams guys, there are going to be some tough cuts, but keeping 7 would be miraculous.
Yeah, especially, of course, we know that Tywan Jones is a lock for the roster. James Cook and Duke Johnson have both been getting snaps at returning in training camp. So that's something that's going to be fun to watch this weekend is the return battle. And James Cook returning the ball is just something I am salivating about right now because we haven't heard a lot of great things about the running back room in camp so far. We'll transition there. It seems like for every good day, each running back kind of has a down day. Zach Moss started real hot. Haven't heard a lot about him ever since. Guess Singletary's had a good week. Cook has looked every bit as advertised, but he's a rookie, so rookies be what rookies be sometimes.
They really do be.
They really do be like that. And so I don't know. I feel like the prospects of Duke Johnson making the roster, as much of a fan as I have been of his, really his entire career, I feel like he's been pretty underrated. He's been on some really bad teams and still done well. But it seems like his days in a Bills uniform are going to be numbered unless he can make a name for himself here as a returner.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's just a tough battle going on. There's a lot of bodies.
Yeah.
With the receiver room.
Literally, yeah.
It's a spot that they've wanted to find an impact guy there for so long, right? Like, I don't think that Sean McDermott, the last thing Sean McDermott wants to do is have Micah Hyde back there again. Like, have it in any type of like important situation, returning anything. Yeah. Cook's an interesting piece to see thrown there because, like we're talking about with that running back room, it seems like they're going to keep all three. I'm sure it's going to be matchup dependent how they get used and everything else. But they want to get the ball in Cook's hands. Like, I see him as a receiver, but if returning would be a great way to just have him on the field for 6 extra snaps a game or whatever it's going to be. But I'm not as worried about the running backs in general either. I think that, and I don't know if we're segueing on or anything else, but
no,
with the offensive line
as
much as anything. Just there hasn't been any cohesion yet. I'm not worried about it. I think if they have the 5 that are supposed to be there by the start of the year, that line is going to be solid. Maybe not a great offensive line, but with Josh Allen, I don't think he needs a great offensive line. I think he just needs a good enough time because he can make things happen on his own. But that, and also just the fact, we talked about it last week, I think, or I talked about it with Buki asking him about the defensive line and just how much of game records they've kind of looked at everything else and how much they are probably affecting the run. Like, I can't wait to see this first team offense against not what this defense could be, like the best defense in the league again. And it's going to feel like a different world for them playing against other guys. So I think that has as much to do with any offensive struggles. I'm trying to keep that with a grain of salt that this defense might be different, even a different level than they were last year.
Yeah, and you can say that like last year they didn't exactly have the hardest schedule, and they still had some. Obviously, like against the bad quarterbacks, they were dominant, but then against like the upper echelon, they had a tendency to kind of give a little bit more. And so you hope that they take another step because, I mean, like you bring in Von Miller, you hear that they're playing more physical at camp. You hear that the offense is actually struggling from time to time, day to day. I know today, apparently, there were a lot of incompletions that they were forcing just because the rush was getting there quickly and the coverage was fantastic. And if you can just keep those two going steadily, like that is like last year, it was all incredible coverage on the back end, but we can't get to the quarterback. It seems like this year we finally might be able to put that together. And I think you are right. I think the fact that the running game hasn't gotten going very well in training camp is because the offensive line has not been able to gel together, has not had time to get the starting 5 out there until this week. And that defensive line is, you know, Rob and I were talking about it. It's the first time in a while that I can say like, oh, if Josh throws a pick on the other team's 40, you know what? I get to go watch Von Miller and Greg Rousseau and AJ Epinesa just go terrorize a backfield. So like, you know, I'm excited to watch this defense.
Yeah. It's going to be a ferocious defense, a tenacious defense, and I just love the depth. Keep adding depth because we've seen it the past 2 years. The way they rotate this defensive line so efficiently at the right time, it pays off. You have any given guy, you know, amongst 6 different guys making plays. Now you made some big additions. I'm really excited to see what Tim Settle does. I haven't heard much from him out of camp, but I think he could be a great running mate for Ed Oliver there in the middle of that defensive line. He shined in limited time in Washington, and I mean, just with Rousseau, I want to see what he does. Basham, it's not like Basham was nothing last year. That AJ Epinesa, like still a guy there. Von Miller, like it's gonna.
I still can't believe that.
It still doesn't. I see all the clips from camp, everything. It still hasn't said it until he makes that first tackle for a loss.
Yeah. Just tackle for a loss, any big play, or like we get to see the opening on NBC where they're saying their names and everything, and you hear Von Miller's name be the first one come up for the Bills defense is going to be a real like turn of the page moment for me and Bills fandom and everything else. It is just surreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, like the defensive line, obviously we want to see some steps forward from the younger guys up there, but overall, not super concerned about it. Linebackers, I mean, we probably have the best top 2 linebacker duo in the NFL, a top 5, between Milano and Edmonds. Sure, we'd like to see more out of Edmonds too, but between the tutelage of Von Miller and also just better play up front, I feel like we don't have a lot of cause for concern. I feel like he was always kind of making up for deficiencies in run stopping at the defensive line. He was unsure of exactly where he needed to be, if he had to cover for other people. That uncertainty, we just need him to play with more confidence, and all that goes away. I'm not sure if there's anything linebacker-wise you guys want to touch on. I don't want to just gloss over it if there's a bigger point there for you.
No, the biggest thing I'm worried about is the next group is the cornerbacks. I mean, of anything. Yeah. And you talked about adding depth to a position. That's I still think they should. I've said it since the beginning of free agency that they should bring in another veteran body to just have around. And maybe that's still Joe Hayden, like the guy they've been the one guy that we heard that Vaughn and whatever. I mean, he just didn't want to go to camp, which is fair. Like, I could see a vet deciding to just like, I'm not going to dorms for 2 weeks. I'll sign with you guys, after the second game, stuff like that. And it could be a situation like that, but it's the linebackers themselves. I think there's been good signs from Terrell Bernard, as we kind of expected, just kind of the athletic freak he was coming out, that they'd be able to kind of mold him into something. I still love Dodson and him kind of getting thrust into that third role this year. He's going to have his really important spots, and I think that he'll be able to do well in that spot. But yeah, the cornerback position is really what worries me. I'm very intrigued. I think for Elam, it's kind of what I expected, the struggles that we're hearing about, like kind of getting beat on like some double moves or just getting lost in certain things. Like that's what we talked about draft night when we were talking about him. It's like he's going to take big jumps at trying to make plays. There's going to be times where he looks lost out there, but he's going to look like a freak out there too. And he's had plays like that. But Christian Benford, the one thing that really interests me about Christian Benford, is I think it was Greg Vorst today tweeted out his relative athletic score, and it's like an 8.2 going into the draft. Like he's an elite athlete. He has great size, and just great physical traits for a cornerback. And we know how this team can coach up secondary guys. I mean, in general, and just scheme the secondary. And maybe that, I don't think it's a stretch that this guy is going to have a lot of playing time going into week 1, because I don't think they're sure about Dane Jackson or Kyer Elam in any way, shape, or form. They clearly not, because they're giving this kid first team reps a lot.
Yeah. No, I'm happy you brought him up, because I read a piece from Salmar Mayorana. I always mess up.
I don't know how to say Sal's name.
From the Democrat and Chronicle, and there was, I'm not going to like spoil the entire thing, because I think it's genuinely something that any Bills fan should read about, because just this guy's mental makeup and the shit he's gone through in his life. I'm just going to read a small excerpt from it, because it's all about a face tattoo that this guy has. Okay. Quote, "It's a half-filled heart because I've lost so many people," Benford explained following a practice at St. John Fisher. "I lost my mom, some of my closest friends, best friends, some people that I call my sisters and my brothers. It's like a part of my heart is gone." Now, that we're getting deep here on the Crowder's podcast. I'm sure, we all know what it's like to lose someone, but to lose so many people so young in your life. And he says, like, from being from where he's from, it's not the best neighborhood. Unfortunately, young people die all the time. And he's the kind of guy who, like, all the trauma and everything he's gone through, he's found a way to make the bad into a positive, because he says time doesn't stop, the world don't stop, your job doesn't stop, so you mourn and make sure you get your heart and your mind right. And it seems like he's done a great job of doing that his entire life, and that is probably part of why Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott fell into this guy, is his mental toughness, is
Agreed.
His process and how he just works to make himself better, and how he's really living his life for everybody who he's lost along the way. And I feel like the story of Christian Benford is just starting to get written. 6th rounder from Villanova, like, this is not exactly the most sexy football school out there, right?
No.
Like,
and that's why he drops. That's why a guy like that drops to the 6th round, and who knows what the circumstance. I mean, that's crazy to like hear, and I mean, you never want to hear that from anybody, but it gives a guy like him a new perspective on just life. Like guys like that, the way that I'm sure that I want to go read this article for sure now and just see what his perspective on life is in general and everything else. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a makeup that they look for, is that kind of mental toughness. And this guy is oozing with it clearly, and the work he's clearly putting in has been impressive too. So yeah, that's a guy you could root for in general on this roster. In a position that's, I mean, that is good, is opportunity too. Like the one spot where there's really opportunity, and he's showing out in it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess we are lucky to be hearing this week that Tre White may be coming back to practice sooner than expected. But that
he didn't want to do camp either.
He didn't want to do camp either.
He's like, training camp, I can come back week 2 of preseason. That sounds good.
I hope that's the case. Like, I know he can come back to practice soon, but like, I don't want to see him rushed at all. I know it's going to be a tough, first couple games if we don't have him. There's no certainties for cornerback right now. It's Buffalo Bills, and I don't want him to rush him back, but I want him back. It's tough, you know. Like, I'm fine waiting as long as needed. Like, be overly cautious, even if maybe we lose an extra game because of it. Tre White's just way too important to our future.
I'm more encouraged that he started camp, like they did the workouts that everybody could see, and like they were getting all the film, and then those stopped happening as camp went on. I'm more encouraged about that because it was kind of like giving the taste to everybody, like, oh, he's out here working. And then the Bills they don't want any of this info coming out. Like, we're going to find out Tre White's ready when he's actually ready. It's not going to be a source that's like, Tre White might be ready for week 1. Like, Ian Rappaport's not going to be saying that. It's going to come from the Bills. So the fact that they pulled him away from all these media sessions, he's not doing these workouts on the side anymore, honestly encouraging for me, because it feels like that could be the precursor of him, like, really ramping up, doing individual stuff and getting ready to go.
100%.
Yeah. And like, that is the only question not the only question, but there's a reason I put that up at the bottom of the screen, is the biggest question for this Bills roster right now is, what is cornerback going to look like week 1? What is it going to look like beyond week 1 when Tre White is back?
Week 1, honestly, week 1, that might be the best receiving duo they face all year at this point. With Cooper Kupp alone, you could consider that whatever. But the way Allen Robinson has looked in camp, and Allen Robinson actually has a quarterback who can hit him in the numbers and hit him in the hands, like that is a horrifying duo to go against for the first game of the season. Like, it really is.
Yeah.
The good thing, though, is that, not good, because I'm never going to root for injury, but Matt Stafford is dealing with some kind of shoulder right now, where even Sean McVay is saying that they're shocked with his progress because it is a pretty serious injury right now. Apparently, he was dealing with a similar one in the preseason last year, so take it with a grain of salt. It's probably one of those things that's just, load management going into this regular season.
Vegas loved it, though, because the Bills swung like 2 points, swung in a way that, and it's been since that Stafford news. And that's, I mean, that's a huge question for week 1 for them too. I mean, it said it's like some kind of baseball, like, tendonitis injury, or no, it's something that
they said it's something that's really common in like elbows for pitchers. Actually, it's elbow, not shoulder. Yeah, that's right.
Something weird like that.
Something weird.
Very weird.
Other than the cornerback, like, is there anything, like, maybe offensive line is a big question right now, but even so, we know what it looks like at its fullest. Is there anything else you guys are somewhat uncertain about before we start talking about the players we're excited to see against Indianapolis this weekend?
I voiced my concerns with, corner and receiver enough already this show. Like, both are corner, definitely more worried about. But receiver's more of a good problem, but I just want to see people stand out. And I love Gabriel Davis. Don't get me wrong. Gabriel, not Gabe. But I'm not 1,000% sold on him as a number 2 receiver in a high volume offense like this. Is Gabriel Davis a guy who's going to catch 80 balls on 115 targets? I don't know. We'll see. We're going to find out.
Somebody's getting those targets, though. Like, Cole had 102 last year. So we talked about that last week too. Like, what's it going to end up? Like, the division of targets is going to be very interesting this year. Is Diggs just going to get 160 targets, and it's just going to be force feeding Diggs, which I could see just being like, you feel like Diggs has to have like the career statement year at some point with Josh Allen. So why wouldn't it be this year? I mean, really, like, that's the way I'm looking at it for Diggs. Like, I don't want to like project something. I put like 1,500 yards and 11 touchdowns on Twitter the other day. I don't know if that's the case, But I wouldn't be surprised either when it comes to Diggs.
All I heard you say is that Diggs is getting 1,500 yards and 11 touchdowns. That's all I heard you say.
I'd be more than okay with it. Speaking of that, though, the biggest question I have is how much different, I guess, the offense is going to look. I don't know if it's going to look any different. Maybe it looks pretty much the same, but it is a big change. We've heard great things about Ken Dorsey. I'm very confident in Ken Dorsey. The dude is just a great football mind in general. I think he's probably been ready for this moment for a long time in his career. So I'm not worried about it at all, per se. It's not a concern, but it is going to be different in some way. I think it'll be good, different, and just interested to see what they put out there and how they move the pieces around and what it looks like, because it's the only time. It's the newness of it, I guess, is interesting. Even though I really think we're not going to notice it, because it's still just going to be the same old Josh Allen, just making the same type of plays that he does no matter what. So,
in Dorsey we trust.
In Dorsey we trust. And it will not be the same old Josh Allen this weekend because, as we said, he is not going to be playing, obviously. But there are a lot of important guys going out for some important positions, even if they are depth positions on this roster. So, Meerkat, we'll start with you. And we all know who it's going to be. You said the meme is dead and because it's real life. It's a real thing. Who's your guy to watch this weekend against Indianapolis?
It's Isaiah Hodgins. I know it's coming. It's obvious, but it's not like I am a huge Isaiah Hodgins fan. I've truly believed in this guy, but it was getting a bit memey. It was, it was getting a bit memey, but I kept saying this guy can do it all. And there is a reason Brandon Beane is going through obstacles to keep him protected, to keep him on the Bills roster, despite not playing for 2 years, dealing with injuries, being a 5th round pick or 6th, whatever, nothing like. Everything's kind of been stacked against him, but they really believe in this kid. Like, they took advantage of everything they can, especially his rookie year with all the COVID stuff, because there was a time he came back and started practicing midseason and then got hurt again and needed that surgery. He's dealt with a lot of stuff, especially with his shoulder. He seems to be healthy. He seems to be absolutely killing it in camp right now. I can't stop getting tagged in tweets of reports of how good Isaiah Hodgins looks, and it gets me so hyped up. This guy... He has an insane wingspan. His catch radius is crazy. He'll catch anything within 7 feet of him. He's just got natural hands. He's got a nose for the ball. He's very good. He's a bit lanky, but he's good at using that lankiness to get around corners, to position himself in good ways. He's a red zone threat, but he can work his way along a boundary, even across the middle, and do some stuff sometimes. He's had 2 years now to work on his route tree without seeing the field and learn this playbook and the offense and build relationships with this guys. And it's finally all coming together in this camp, it seems like. I don't see how you don't keep this guy if he shines this preseason. It's a big preseason for him. He's going to need to stand out. Camp's not enough, and he's not a special teams guy. He won't be used for special. He will make this team as a receiver, a real receiver. I think he could sneak in as a wide receiver 5 or 6. He's currently listed behind Gabriel Davis as the 4th total overall receiver, a 2nd team receiver on the most updated depth chart from the Bills, because he is crushing it.
No, I mean, easily, he wears number 80. That's not a special teams receiver number. Let's be real about that. He does wear number 80. I'm right about that, right? Okay, I thought so. It's not a special teams kind of number. Let's not read between the lines too much. It's right there in front of our faces. I got 2 guys I'm going between, and I'm going to go with the one that we started out the show talking about a little bit. And for me, it's James Cook, because he was one of my guys. Last year, Greg Rousseau was our guy. This year, James Cook was my guy. I'm so excited to see what he looks like on an actual NFL field with actual NFL players wearing pads. I can't wait to see what he does in the open space, get to see him at return. And I think that he's probably my favorite to win that return job right now, just because we know how dynamic he is. Now, it could be Isaiah McKenzie, but I think he's going to have a heavier workload on the actual offense itself, to where they're going to want to save him specifically for that. And James Cook, welcome to the league, rookie. You're going out in the most fast-paced of every single play that happens on an NFL field, and that's kickoff returns, and that's punt returns. And this guy is going to make he's going to make a grown man look absolutely silly on Saturday afternoon. Not a doubt in my mind.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
There's going to be some highlights from him.
Yeah,
for sure.
He's a walking highlight reel.
I mean, I'm very happy he's making news kind of in camp as a runner too, because I think when he drafted him, I tweeted welcome James Cook, Bills RB3, but wide receiver 4 right now. He didn't see a ton of action receiving in college, but when he did, he made the most of it. He's just a natural guy catching the ball in the backfield. As much as I love RB1, Devin Singletary, still RB1. He's had some issues as a receiver, so shore it up, add another weapon, just keep stacking them.
Mm-hmm. 2 running back sets with those 2 in the backfield is going to be so unpredictable, and I'm going to love it. Yeah. All right, Micah, take us home. Who's your player to watch this weekend?
It's the only position we haven't mentioned yet, bro. I want to see Punt God. Let's see what this dude fucking looks like. Oh, I mean, maybe they're not. Maybe Case Keenum's just got these boys cooking, and they're not punting a bunch in this game. But yeah, I want to see what the kid does in a real game. I mean, I'm sure they're both going to get punts in this game. Maybe Ariza only gets all the holds too. If you're going to be watching the hold, I think that's. I couldn't believe that they were talking about so much about holding. I'm like, I know Matt Hawk's probably a great holder, whatever, but you can figure out how to hold a foot. Like I can hold a football from a snap for a kick. Like I'm pretty sure everybody can figure that out. So I'm
afraid of getting my fingers kicked, but
it's scary. You just got to hold on, just wait it out, trust the kicker. Yep. But yeah, this is the biggest position battle. Like we really don't know who's going to come out of it. They've been getting split basically 50-50 the whole way through. But this kid feels like he has the upper hand just for getting drafted this year and everything we saw from Hawk last year. I'm excited to see. I mean, as excited as I will get to see a punt, I am excited to see punting because I hope it doesn't happen a lot during the regular season. So let's see it now.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that maybe the offense goes they get to 4th down on purpose to give Matt Ariza a chance?
Yeah, they should just like a rollout with Case Keenum where he slides on 3rd and 6. There's let's just let's unleash a 70-yarder. That place will go crazy if he has to kick from the own end zone and it goes the 30-yard line or something. It'll be the biggest cheer of the day.
This might be the first time in NFL history where people are excited to watch a punter.
I know. I can't think of another time I've ever would have brought up a punter my life until right now. Shout out Punt God. And like I said, I don't want to see him at all once we hit September 8th or 9th, whatever that day is. Never again. So
no, he's dead to me then, unless we need him. But if we miss someone, obviously there are a lot of players to watch. We didn't even mention Christian Benford at the end, but we talked about him at pretty good length. Not even talking about the impact
he would
can
my
actually
choice
have
here.
on the field.
He would have my choice here, but I had already given every take about him. I'm glowing about him. Whatever. He's the guy for me, really. But it is Matt Ryan, and it is Matt Ryan a little bit on Saturday too. So that'll be really interesting for the corners when they actually have to play. I mean, not just a starting quarterback. He's playing a couple series, so not just a starting quarterback, but a guy who's obviously had great success in the league and can work around and everything else. So that's going to be.
I kind of can't believe he's actually playing.
I'm assuming it's because he's still getting the offense down and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He just wants to get timing and checks out and everything else. But it is strange, especially for an older quarterback too. Like you think those guys would just be out week one,
50,
no matter what. Yeah. Yeah. So, but who knows?
Mm-hmm. Well, whether it's Hodgins, Cook, Benford, Ariza, someone else that you guys think that it will be an exciting player to watch this weekend, let us know. Tweet at us at CrowdAssistPod, and shout out New York's only outlet liquor, the place to buy a case. My mom is throwing, very thankful, Lisa, thank you. She's going to throw a little Wake is Back in Buffalo bash at their house out in Angola. And you know where I'm going to go before that party? I'm going to go to Outlet Liquor because it's the cheapest way to celebrate a long Labor Day weekend. It's great for your tailgates, your Bills watch parties. Need to stock up, the place to buy a case. What's your outlet? This show has been ours. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. For Micah, Meerkat, myself, all of Trainwreck Sports, see you next week. Good night. No, we'll see you Saturday. We'll see you Saturday.
Yes, sir.
Because the Bills play.
Okay. Go Bills.
See you Saturday.